Hi, and welcome back to our second interview here at Bauman Rare Books here in New York City on Madison Avenue between 54th and 55th Street. Now, last week we were looking at some old classic books, things from the 17th, 18th, and 19th century. And this week we're going to take a look at some of the more modern classics, books by authors like Edith Wharton and F. Scott Fitzgerald. Expensive, rare, beautiful books. So let's go ahead and take a look and enjoy the show.
Is Great Gatsby, along with Sun Also Rises and Joyce's Ulysses, I'd say, are sort of the three grails among, grail objects among modern first editions. And some of the greatest excitement in rare book collecting in general has surrounded the collecting of modern firsts for the past, that's been the trend, I'd say, for the last 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. And that's where we've seen the greatest, certainly the greatest growth, the greatest acceleration of values. I mean, prior to the 1970s and the 1980s, modern first editions didn't have the same collectible cachet as antiquarian books, big leather-bound books. They were today's literature to be read today, and they weren't really thought of as collectible. But I think that as each individual work, something like The Great Gatsby, published in the 20s, became more established and more canonized, people began to look to it as a collectible. The other factor is that modern first editions tend to be printed in larger numbers because of the means of mechanical reproduction than the antiquarian books. Something like the Shakespeare folio that we looked at a minute ago, would have been printed in numbers not exceeding 750 to 1,000 copies per edition, whereas even an early book for Hemingway, like The Sun Also Rises, when he's still relatively unknown, is going to have a print run of about 5,000 copies. Now, 5,000 by today's standards is modest, and even compared to that Huckleberry Finn that we looked at, which was huge, a huge print run in the 19th century of 30,000 copies. But 5,000 is still quite a bit larger than the several hundred or maybe 1,000 copies that we'd see for an older book. Yeah, there's some great works here. There's Edith Wharton's Age of Innocence from 1920. That's quite rare in its dust jacket, and that's 23,500.
And that's such a simple cover too. That's one of the simplest covers I've ever seen.
Here.
Wait a minute. I'm so sorry to stop you because I can't believe I'm seeing what I'm seeing. Am I seeing a copy of Harry Potter in a cover I have never seen before?
Yes.
Was that the original cover?
Well, that's the British edition. Of course, Harry Potter is a British phenomenon first and foremost. Well, it's global at this point, but it's a British book, and that's the original Bloomsbury edition, Bloomsbury Press first edition. So the artwork that we know in the American editions is different from the British series. Okay. So that's the true first of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, the second book in the series, and he is quite collectible. And as you can imagine, dust jackets are hard to find for children's books, and children's books intact in anything resembling collectible condition are pretty exceptional and pretty scarce because they do tend to get used
in the hands of children. They don't hold up so well
more than other types of books. But and children's books are among the books that are closest to people's hearts for the obvious reason that they identify with them so strongly from their childhoods and their original reading. So they are quite popular for collectible.
What does it take to become a manager of a rare bookstore like this?
Well, I mean, I've been on the job for about 12 years, and it's very much about on-the-job training. I didn't go to school for rare books. I did study literature in college and worked a little bit in publishing. I think everybody that works here, starts with a broad liberal arts background and, most importantly, a love of books and a commitment to them. But you're quite right that there's a tremendous amount of information and data, and so much of it is, a good memory really comes into play. So New York and Vegas are the two walk-in stores, no appointment necessary. Yeah.
So, if you've ever been in New York or if you've never traveled to New York, you have to come down, check this shop out. Like I said, it's small, it's intimate, it's gorgeous, right here on Madison Avenue between 54th and 55th Street. And join us again for another edition of YouMeanItToday.com, and I'll see you soon. Bye.